So guys, today I want to give my thoughts and opinions after watching Austin Evans, the coolest tech you can't buy. Well, yet, as he says in here. And it's really still the coolest phone you can't buy because it's only released in the Chinese market. And this, of course, is the phone that has been released recently, is the Honor Magic V2. And to be honest, it is a very awesome phone. I've talked about it many, many times on this channel. And now seeing it, actually in Austin's hand and really showing it off, it's beautiful. It has a beautiful inside display, beautiful outside display, humongous inside display, by the way. And I think this is kind of where we're going toward when it comes to foldable phone future, is we're going to start seeing a lot of foldable phones have humongous inside displays. Right now we're seeing at 7.6 inch for, like, for example, the Galaxy Z Fold devices, the Google Pixel 7.6 inch. But we're going to get to a point, and already some smartphones being released in China have already gotten to this point. We're going to get eventually to a point where every smartphone, affordable smartphone, is 8 inches inside, period. No 7.6 inches anymore. It's going to be 8-inch display. Now, of course, the cool thing about this Honor Mate 2 V2 is it does have that beautiful outside display, which is, of course, what we love when it comes to the Google Pixel Fold and the Oppo series phones, where the outside display is pretty much the equivalent level of a candy bar cell phone. So if you don't want to open up your phone, you never really have to. Now, he does talk about in this video how, he really doesn't like the Z Fold devices, how, thin and narrow the outside display is. I still love it. I mean, maybe I'm, like, in the minority there, but I have no problem with the outside display being so thin with the Z Fold devices. I get it, yes, is it nice to have a bigger outside display? Yeah. But at the same time, you gotta keep in mind, I'm someone who came from the Surface Duo 1 and 2 way back in the day, where they had a very, like, honestly, a fat outside display, but not a very thin one. It's very thick. So, I don't really see a big problem with it, personally speaking wise. Now, he does show off this interesting feature, which I thought was kind of cool. So, they do have a split screen mode on the Honor V Magic 2. And pretty much how it works is that you can just like on any foldable cell phones, you could have two applications run at the same time. But what he shows here is actually both games. He has two different games on two different accounts running at one time, and they're actually running, the same time. And they're actually pretty efficient. Like, there's no lag or problems, and obviously this does have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor in it, so it's not like this is outdated hardware. This is the best of the best hardware-wise. But yeah, I really did think that was interesting, and he does show you can actually have two people playing it at one time. And he also shows that when you close the phone and then open it back up, it's a smooth transition from playing the game on the outside display to the inside display. Just gets smaller on the outside display. So I thought that was kind of cool. The software is definitely there for this phone. And that's something that we kind of are not surprised by, right? I mean, Honor Magic, the series so far, has been pretty good. Again, just the whole international release, global release is really the problem. Now, of course, this is what the outside display looks like. And you can see there isn't much bezels at all. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous. It's just that thing that it's only released in China, so it's really hard to get this phone. It's going to cost a lot of money to, get it from China over here to the States or UK, and also finding it is another problem, right? I mean, you have to go on third-party websites with scalpers, and that's never a fun thing to do because of that. Now, he does show off on here how thin this device is, and I'm going to tell you right now, even when this device is actually closed, it still measures in at 236 grams. Just for kind of comparison, 236 grams is this device. The Z Fold 5 is 256 grams, and an iPhone 14 Pro Max is 250 grams. So it is going to be around 20 grams less than a Z Fold 5. That's how lightweight this phone is, and also, again, how thin this phone actually is, which is crazy. It's amazing how thin this phone really is. When they say paper thin, I mean, they're not kidding. Like, this is as paper thin as you're going to get for a foldable cell phones. And again, this is kind of like what we see with the future here is, the thinness of cell phones and also the size. It's going to come down to now who has the biggest cell phone possible, foldable wise, and who has the, most thin cell phone. And again, the cameras are very nice. But I will say overall wise, again, it's one of those cell phones where I wish I could pick it up. I wish I could get it. And I think a lot of people believe that and really, truly would love it. But the problem is, again, it's just not international. And that's really going to be the kicker at the end of the day. It's not a bad cell phone. A lot of these foldable phones that come out in China, I know there's a stigma like, oh yeah, it's being released in China, it's probably a crap product. No, a lot of these are really good cell phones. It just comes down to the fact of availability. And a lot of these companies that release strictly in China, they can't go international. They can't get this product out there everywhere. And it just becomes to a point where it's just an isolated market. And this is why Samsung, by the way, last year, they had zero presence in China, and then they started releasing their Z Fold 4 in China. And the reason why is because they realized, wow, this is a very, isolated market that a lot of companies, to avoid Samsung actually, to avoid the competition, they've been releasing strictly in China. So Samsung said, well, that's our chance to kind of take over and take control of China with our releases too. So it is what it is, but overall, that's what made the video today, because I thought this was a really cool phone. I know Austin shows off and says how cool it is. I'm not sure, and sometimes when it comes to tech reviewers, like, showing, I'll say, like, sometimes I feel like it's not always they kind of overdo it sometimes, if that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not always their own opinion. They might have their own opinion on the device, but sometimes they say a little bit nicer things for that said reason. Or it could be the opposite, right? It could be they'll say negative things about a device, even though if they like a device, just because of the fact of, what they're kind of like supposed to say. I don't know. I'm not saying they're scripted, but I'm saying, like, they do get influence. There you go. Influence is a great term to use when it comes to some really big tech reviews. Not smaller or not like middle size or good size. I'm talking about like the big guys. Like obviously Austin Evans. And I feel like for the most part, when he gets tech or reviews tech, yes, he does give his own opinion. But I think a little bit is kind of influenced based on what he thinks, the general market thinks about this device. Or the general average consumer thinks about this device. And sometimes when it's impossible to get, like the Honor Magic V2, because it's strictly released in China, he, kind of maybe over-embellishes, how good the device is. Because, again, not many people are going to get it. So it's more or less just like, okay, well, I could sit here and talk about how great this device is to kind of make it exciting because no one's going to be able to get this device. And I'm not saying that because saying that the device sucks. The device is actually really good. He actually does a good job in this video explaining that. But I'm just saying sometimes I feel like, it might not be as good as some tech reviewers cover for certain devices. So that's just my personal opinion. I'll see you guys in the next one, though.